Hi, this is Malcolm from the Circus Armory, and I'm here today with a quick tutorial on how to replace the handles on one of your Circus Armory knives. Today we're going to be working with one of the aluminum drumming kitchen knives made specifically for SeaWorld Orlando. So once you get into this process, there are a few different things you're going to need. First off, if you're working with a knife that has the rubberized coating on the handle, then you're going to need a utility blade or X-Acto knife of some sort to cut that off. And as always, if you're working with sharp blades, you'll probably want some gloves to protect your hands. Whether you have a rubberized coating or not, you're obviously going to need a new handle to replace your damaged one. It's going to come in two parts just like this. A screwdriver or Allen wrench, depending on what type of handle scales you have. Last but not least, I also frequently find it helpful to have a ball peen hammer or a similar rounded blunt instrument around to help tap the pins into place. However, you can also use something like the backside of your screwdriver or anything else of around that shape and size. Now, to begin the process of replacing the handle scales on this knife, we're going to first take our X-Acto blade and we're going to run right along the spine in line with the blade along the back of the handle using this knife. Just use the tip of our knife to pry up the very front. We need to peel it off like so. And with our rubberized coating removed, we can go ahead and get access to these 3 Chicago screw pins going through the handle. We're going to need to remove all 3 of those and the handle should pop right off. To do that, we're just going to use, in this case, a flathead screwdriver. And we're going to be able to just unscrew each of these pins one at a time. Just pop those handle pieces off. And then from there, we're able to just remove all 3 of those pins. Like so. So that's 1. And here is number 2. Pop it out like so. So we can go ahead and set aside our old handle scales and grab our new ones. Now, putting a new handle onto the blade is just the reverse of taking the old one off. So to start, we're just going to take our base blade. We're going to take one of our handle scales and line it up with the handle like so. Then we will go ahead and take 3 of our post sides of our through pins and put those through each of our 3 mounting holes. Now, the holes that these set into, essentially the countersink, are very tight, and that's for good reasons that these pins don't spin around, but it also means that getting them to fit inside of those countersinks can be a little bit tricky. So to help fix that, we're going to take our other handle scale, going to line it up underneath loosely, but our pins aren't actually set into place yet. So we can then take our ball peen hammer and using the rounded side of the hammer, just tap these pins down into those countersinks. And as soon as we do that, you'll see here is one that has not been tapped down yet, and here is one that has. So it'll flush down right into the handle. Repeat that process with the other 2. And now they're all nicely flushed up. At that point, we can flip this over and get access to the back side. Take each of our threaded screw post sides. Going to set those in place and then take our, in this case, flathead screwdriver and just screw those down. We want these snug, but we don't want to crazy over tighten them because these are relatively low grade metal and they can strip out if you over tighten. And in some cases, because this countersink hole is very tight, it can sometimes be difficult to get these down into place. You can try tapping them in with the ball peen hammer, same way as on the other side, to help get them low enough. But I also find it relatively easy to just get it in place and try to line up that screw post as best you can. And then with a sturdy table like this, just stand up and you can lean your body weight down into the screwdriver and that will help press it down and get that threading started. And just like that, we have now replaced the handle on our Circus Armory knife. One last note on these. Depending on which type of knife you're using and how complicated the handle is, sometimes the handle scales may not fit perfectly when first attached. Many of the knives that are getting sent out have a little bit of extra sanding or shaping done to them just to make sure that all the edges line up perfectly. So it's not going to be damaging to the knife if you use it without sanding those pieces down, but it might be a little bit uncomfortable for your hand. You can get around that in a pinch by just wrapping it with any sort of grip tape if necessary, but obviously that can damage the aesthetic value of the knife. So if you use just a little bit of sandpaper or a file or anything else like that, then you can usually knock down those edges and get everything flushed up nicely.